One of the greatest inventions ever for anxiety. This is a sensory ring. It is a spool of wires almost put together to make itself an elastic ring. This is one of my favorite anxiety hacks that there is. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. What's up, guys? My name is Eric. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. Also level 1 autism. I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. I lost a wife and father to suicide. I attempted suicide. I like to share everything that I've been through just to help people know that they're not alone and to be able to go through it. These right here are sensory rings. When you buy sensory rings, you can buy them in a bundle. And what sensory rings are is this is one of the best distracting devices there is that I have found for anxiety. Anxiety is fear. It's our thought process. We get lost in our brain. We get lost in our thoughts. And it becomes so overwhelming. It can become so overpowering that we literally just have fear of fear. It can trigger and bring on an anxiety attack. We can feel the anxiety attacks coming on. Our heart rate start to change. Our breathing start to change. Sometimes we get sick. Finding things that stimulate your senses help bring you out of this thought process and back into the present. Sense of touch is a huge one, especially for me. Now, what a sensory ring is this is actually a sensory toy that was somewhat designed even for anyone on the spectrum. Now, again, I'm level 1 autism, so I do have prone to sensory when it comes to anything toy-wise, touch-wise. That does shift my thought process very differently. A sensory ring, though, because of how it's spun, when you put this thing on, it just puts so much different pressure in weird areas that it literally shifts all your focus. You can get lost, and I have before, literally just sitting, doing this nonstop with a sensory ring. And the best thing is there's a ton that come in a package. They're super cheap too. You can find them on Amazon. If you just type in sensory ring, they'll send them like 20 in a pack, and you can get gold, silver, all sorts of different colors. I don't really care about the colors. I just care about the ring itself because these things do break. But again, it's a bunch of wires that are all intertwined together. And as you can see, it's kind of spiny. And that spiny it hits different parts of your skin. It gives it just such a different sensation. I mean, the first time I put this on, it was a sensation that I'd never really felt before. It literally, because of how it feels, you stop thinking and you're like, man, this really has an interesting feel to it. And now you're thinking about this ring, you're paying attention to it. You're just messing around of how does it feel on this finger versus the other finger. And now that you're doing this, the last thing that you're thinking about is the anxiety. The last thing you're doing is thinking about those thoughts in your head that are just going insane, going bonkers. And all you're thinking about is this thing on your fingers and how it makes your skin feel. Because that's the whole thing with anxiety. Anxiety is easy to fight off because anxiety, our senses are stronger than our thoughts. So sense of taste, sense of sight, sense of sound, sense of smell, sense of touch. Sense of touch is a big one for me, and it's finding what senses are your strongest that you can find tools for that will help you fight out of that anxiety. For me, again, it's been sense of touch. Anxiety rings, if I was to rate any kind of anxiety hack, any kind of anxiety tool, these are a must because even when you're talking, doing this alone, having multiple things going at the same time and talking, distracts your thoughts so much that it can't focus on the fear. You can't focus on your thought process. This literally keeps you right now here into the present because the worst is when we start to really disassociate and we really get stuck into that thought process that we forget who's around us. We forget everything because we are like in a prison of fear. When you are constantly messing with these, and if you've ever seen me like do some of our vlogs that we do with when I do them with Candace or when we do some of our podcasts, I'll have one of these and I'll be playing with it because this literally just keeps me fully into the moment. It doesn't let me get lost in my thoughts. I love this. I mean, and the great thing about it is because of what it is, nobody really notices it. You can keep it where it's in your pocket, wherever. Even not even using it as a ring and just using it between your fingers is enough to stimulate your senses to draw you out of this thought process. And again, it doesn't draw any attention to it. I mean, the one thing that we hate when we struggle with anxiety, at least I do, any kind of attention. I don't want attention. I don't want people to know I'm struggling. I want to be able to distract myself, get myself out of that anxiety moment without anyone really noticing or paying attention. Because the last thing I need is people starting to ask me if I'm okay. Because as soon as people start asking me that, I get like, oh my God, what's wrong? Everyone can notice what's wrong. And my anxiety amps right back up. This keeps it away. And I could sit and just play with this thing for hours. And now the good thing about them is they do come in like packs of like 10, packs of 20, because you do break these things. Because next thing you know, you're stretching them and eventually it's going to break because you can see the intertwined, just different wires in there. But again, it's this weird prickly sensation. It's like like the rough side of a sponge is the easiest way I could put it, but it's wrapped around your finger with a little bit of pressure. And man, it just totally takes it from here to here. And that alone helps you keep the anxiety away. Again, I mean, it's trial and error to find out what works for you. I love sensory toys. My best senses are the sense of taste, the sense of touch when it comes to like ice, and especially when it comes to this. Sense of smell is all right, but sight and hearing is not really big ones for me. And that's the whole thing, is when you are trying to find tools that help ground you and get you away from the anxiety, is what are your strongest senses? Again, this is one of my favorite go-tos. Just sit and play with it for hours. But you can find these things on Amazon. I rate this like a 10 out of 10 on the way of sensory toys, out of the way of sensory tools, whatever you want to call it. I'd love to have you comment down below. Tell me what you use to help get you out of anxiety, what you use to keep yourself distracted, to keep those thoughts away, because that's what it is. The more that we hear what other people go through and what other people use, the less we feel alone. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit that like and subscribe button. Love to have you along for the journey, because again, all it is sharing about what we've been through. And once you hear what other people have been through, you know that you're going through it and you can do it. So don't forget that you matter.